Hey, welcome to our third part of the look at the books of the Bible. And today we're going to be looking at the third book in the Bible, the book of Leviticus. So if you're new to this page and you think that the Bible and theology is the most relevant thing in our culture today, be sure and like this video, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with what we're doing here. And any more videos like this, you'll get to see as soon as they're released. So, like I mentioned before, Leviticus is the third book in the Bible, and it's arguably the book that has killed the most reading plans of any book in the Bible. You see people start off in January typically, and they start off with great intentions that they're going to just power through. They're going to read the entire Bible this year, or maybe even a shorter time period, and then they get to the book of Leviticus, and they begin to see ordinance and law after law after law, and it doesn't read like an amazing novel, but it is an amazing study to see what God has saved us from, these sacrificial laws. And that's one of the things that you can consider when you're reading this book, is that it's not even necessarily an instructional book, because it's not. We don't sacrifice anymore, but it's a book to remind us what we have been saved from. So the theme of this book, it is laid out in Leviticus 19 verses 2 and 3, where it says, "Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy, for I the Lord your God am holy. Ye shall fear every man his mother and father, and keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God." So you see, the law and the ordinances aren't just to keep us busy. I think a lot of times we think of the law, we think of the different rules that are laid out in the Bible as they're some type of way to keep us from fun, or to keep us busy, or to keep us distracted from something else. But you see, the laws in the Bible, the ordinances in the Bible, they're to make us holy like God is holy. That is the goal, is for us to live a holy life. In theology, that is one of the purposes of our existence, is to be holy, is to try and strive for that holiness. And much of the things through the law are to remind us also that Yahweh is our God. Throughout the law, throughout the Old Testament, throughout the prophets especially, God's actions are to point us towards Him and to remind us that He is God. So we see that He is God, and in this book we see that very clearly through the sacrifices, through what we need to understand through them. One of the main ideas of this book is it binds worship and ethics together. This is a lesson that we need incredibly bad in society today, and in the church today especially, is that we need to see how worship and ethics can be bound together. We see that a lot of Christians especially, they lean almost completely in one direction or the other. They believe in worship and just that God is love and that's the only thing that matters, or they believe in behavior and how we act, and that's the only thing that matters. But the book of Leviticus, it really begins to meld those two together and show us that our worship and our ethics are not to be split apart. They're not to be two different things, but they're to be the same thing. We worship God when we act ethically. When we act holy, we worship God through that. There are ethical ways to worship God. We don't go into church and just act however we want to. So this is a book of order. It's a book of behavior, and it's a book that shows us that the early church, that the early Israelites, also, they struggled with blending these two things together and finding a balance. So when you struggle to find a balance, when you struggle to find exactly how you need to behave, how you need to act, you're not alone. The Israelites, they struggled with that too. The early church, they struggled with that too. People today struggle with that too. So trying to wrap your head around what is expected of you and how you can achieve that behavior through worship, through ethics, it's an incredibly important thing. So a lot of people, and they do typically just write this book off as a rule book that has nothing to do with present day Christians. I know a lot of people, I've even heard preachers say from the pulpit, unfortunately, that this book has nothing to do with us. Yet when you travel through the Bible into the New Testament, you'll see that it is quoted or referenced at least 40 times in the New Testament. That means that this Old Testament book is incredibly relevant to our lives today. So we don't need to just write that off. We don't need to just forget that and say, it's that's the law. That's the Old Testament. We don't have to worry about that. I'm just all about grace. I am too. But this book is incredibly relevant to Jesus and his disciples and the writers of the New Testament. So that means it should be incredibly relevant to us today in 2023. So, when you think about this book, though, and I want you to honestly think about this and comment, let me know what you think. When you think about the book of Leviticus, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? What is the first thing that goes through your head when you think about the book of Leviticus? Is it, and you can be honest. Do you think it's boring? Do you think it's a hard read? Do you think it is fascinating to read about all the sacrificial systems and everything? Or is it something that you just really don't have much experience with? Let us know in the comments. As we kind of finish up, as we kind of land the plane here, if this is helpful, if you enjoyed this, share this with a friend, comment, let us know what you think. We love and we appreciate any and all types of feedback, just so we can know what we can do better here and what you would like to see more of. So next time we're going to be looking at the next book in the Bible. We're going to be looking at the book of Numbers. This gets a little bit outside of the sacrificial system. It has something to do with that, and we get a little bit more into the story of Israel's beginning. So I hope you're excited to be there for it. I'm excited to talk about it, so we'll see you then. Thanks.